My husband and I got into an argument and we talked we talked it over, and I went to give him a hug and he didn't want to hug me, which triggered me and my rejection wound. And then he left to go run an errand and he didn't say goodbye to me, and that made me feel abandoned, my abandonment wound. And so I cried, and at first I was focusing on the story and the phenomena that was occurring. Like, oh, how could he do this? How can he just leave me like this? That whole kind of victim story. But then as a healer, as a coach, as a spiritual teacher and an inner child healing practitioner, I've done enough work to understand that any trigger, especially when we're focusing on the other, is a distraction to keep us from accessing the wound itself, the core of the wound, the root of the wound, and where it comes from. So I know that the trigger is a decoy. Focus on your husband, focus on your boyfriend, focus on your girlfriend, focus on whoever it is that you think is making you upset, and fix it with them. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with going within to understand why this is a trigger to begin with. Why do you become activated? What is the trauma or the wound underneath that's being activated? So, like I said, I realized abandonment was being activated and rejection. And so the medicine is not to talk to your spouse or try to have them see your way or anything like that. The medicine is in allowing it to be, allowing the trigger to arise, understanding they are doing a gift. They are providing a service to you. They are offering you a gift of realizing there is something there within yourself that needs your attention. And so you don't react to the drama that's occurring. You stop, you let it go, you breathe. And in this case, my husband left. And I did cry those tears of the victim a few minutes. But then I took a breath and I said, what does this remind me of? Where is this coming from? And obviously, it led me back to my father, who abandoned me, who I felt rejected me over and over again. And it's not even the fear of losing my husband, it's the fear of losing my father. And our partners often or always represent our most deepest and most intimate relationships of our life, which are mother and father. And so they are playing their part perfectly to help you heal what needs healing. And so in that moment, I spoke to the little girl inside of me and I told her, hey, you are safe. I will never leave you. I will never reject you. I will never abandon you. I became her father in that moment. I became her mother in that moment, and I reassured her how much I love her, which is all that she needed, but she was looking for it from my husband, which is not her father. And so that is the healing work. When you're having these triggers, especially in your romantic relationships, that is the work. Don't fight, don't overreact, don't try to make the other person wrong, don't try to have them see your point of view, especially when you're triggered in that moment. Because when you say something is more important than what you have to say. When two people are in fight or flight mode, when two people are threatened, guess what they're going to do? They're going to defend. They're going to attack. That is not the time. So when that's happening and you notice it's getting more intense or more dramatic, that's when it's time to walk away, to say, okay, this is not the best time to talk about this. And to feel secure enough, because if you have insecure attachment, that will make you very nervous. You're going to feel like your skin is crawling, like, wait, we have to correct this before we move on, because of the fear of loss, the fear of abandonment, the fear of rejection, which is where insecure attachment comes from. You are afraid that the attachment will leave. That's why it's insecure. Okay. So you need to, in that moment, offer yourself that secure attachment. The medicine is to have secure attachment to yourself, to your inner child. So no matter what happens with another, no matter if they leave or stay or reject you or desire you, it doesn't matter, because you've got you. You have a secure attachment within yourself. You have this security within yourself. And that's what is most important. That's the only thing that's important, because you cannot control other people, and they are not your anything. They do not live for you. They are souls on their own sacred path. So they have their own journey to walk. They're not living their life for you, but you are living your life for you. People may come and go. When the lessons are complete, the teachers will change, but you always remain. So it's about becoming the mother and father to the child within, the wounded child within yourself, and also creating that secure attachment within yourself. So at that time, it's not the time to talk when emotions are high, because you're literally using your emotional primitive brain, not your rational mind, not your logical brain. So you cannot process information at that time. This is like scientific. This is not like woo-woo stuff. Okay? So that's not the time to talk. You distance yourself, you create some space, and then you don't focus on the other. You go within yourself. What does this remind me of? When did I feel rejected in the past? When did I feel afraid of being left? When was I left behind? When was I betrayed? When was my trust betrayed? When was I hurt by someone else? Was it my father? Was it my mother? Was it someone else that I loved and trusted? And that's where the work is. That's where the wounded child is. That's where the child is still holding on to pain. And that's why it's being activated, because it needs to be healed. And that's when you offer yourself the healing that is needed. You don't look for it from another person. You say to yourself, I love you. I will never betray you, to that little boy inside, to that little girl inside. I would never leave you. I would never betray your trust. I would never reject you. I would never replace you with someone else. I am always here for you. You are the most important thing for me. It doesn't matter who comes and goes, because I've got you. And you've got you. You will never self-abandon. You will never self-betray. You will never self-neglect. That is the medicine. And once you feel that power and that strength and that healing, then you can talk to your partner. Then you can talk to the other person. Maybe the next day, maybe later on. If it was something they did that was wrong, wait for them to come to you. Don't ever, when someone makes a mistake, treats you inappropriately, disrespects you, etc., you never go to them first, because that would be enabling that behavior. You need to love yourself enough to allow them as a sacred soul to recognize that that is not love and that is not appropriate. So when they come to you, it is because they have understood in their own time that how they reacted or what they said or what they did was not loving. So you have to allow them to come to you. And if it was you that said something that was not loving, or did something that was not loving, or made the mistake, that's okay too. Then you have to come to them first and tell them, I'm sorry I did that. I shouldn't have said that. I did it because this, and this. I did it because it reminded me of this from my past. I did it because my inner child within me felt threatened at that moment. You don't deserve that, or vice versa. And then you can talk about things. Once emotions are not high, once you're backing your logical brain, once you're not feeling threatened anymore, once you're calm. But remember, our partners are tools to help us evolve, to help us heal, to help us expand and raise our consciousness. It is not about the other. So here's part 2 of today's trigger story with romantic relationships, my experience. So my husband got home and it was a little awkward. You can tell we both felt a little hurt. We were kind of avoiding eye contact, but then started kind of talking about things we need to talk about and our son and stuff. Kind of, I could feel we were trying to break the ice. And he then came to me and asked me for a hug this time now. And I gave him a hug. And he went on to explain how stressed he is with my illness and my condition and the surgery coming up and everything we need to do to prepare for it. And my son, who is a handful and a half, and he's holding down everything in the house, and my son and the provider, and just all the stress, feeling that, you know, the world is on your shoulders as a man, as a provider, as a father, as a husband. And of course, I understand that. I already knew that. I was never vilifying him. I just know he's stressed. But he asked if I forgive him, and I said, of course. And we looked at each other. Every time after an argument, which is very rare, my husband and I rarely ever fight or argue. But when we do, we hold hands, we look into each other's eyes deeply, and we say, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And that's basically saying, like, I love you no matter what. I'm sorry that I'm an imperfect human. I hope that you can forgive me for my unconsciousness. Thank you for being a part of my life and helping me heal. And we say that 3 times to each other, in our eyes, looking in our eyes deeply, and then we hug one another. And that was that. And it was beautiful to recognize that we are learning and we are growing and we make mistakes, but we have grace for one another and compassion for one another. And we don't need to project. We could heal our own issues, not just project and not just blame. And so now we feel even closer than we did before. And so that is the healing, and that is the medicine in this kind of work and this kind of emotional intelligence and this kind of emotional maturity and just this spiritual way of living. So I hope it helps. 70% of you who listen to me regularly are not subscribed to this channel. If you want to support this cause in a free way, all you have to do is click subscribe.